I learned, well, I would say Python, but that's not exactly true. I learned more about Arduino than anything else. I, well, pretty much go back to the classics, to the origins. Because there's a long time I haven't touched an Arduino, let alone program it. So today I kind of dive in this. But why? Well, last time if you see my videos, last video I made was about, well, IoT. And that's pretty much what we are entering the course. Again, I think I actually said this in my video. And well, it is a progression, and it's kind of hard to have a progression if we don't have the starting basics, because the first real class that shows us how to, well, have an Arduino pretty much working uses sensors, and also I couldn't make it work. So I'm gonna show you the Arduino version of this, not with the sensor, but a much simpler one, though not too simple. So now you can see here my little code, and you can see also that today I'm capturing my display instead of my, well, window, because I OBS is not recognizing the my little code here as an Arduino. But well, let me explain a bit. Arduino has an inbuilt program, not inbuilt, sorry, but it has a programming language for itself that runs pretty well with Arduino. Usually it's more to make sketches, and usually people who want to make more professional work with Arduino per se uses other different programming languages, and well, that's an example I want to use for Python. But first I made the code with the actual Arduino. You can see here my version is a version a little bit older than the others, and I use, actually, this is pretty much, this is not even a code you must type out, because there's a very interesting feature. After all, Arduino is made, well, a good portion with beginners, or it expects beginners. So we have here in the file examples, and I have a really good one. One of the most basics, which are in the basics, are the Blinky, for example. It makes a LED connected to, and I'm going to show these on my camera, a LED connected to, I have here a little bit of Arduino, a LED here, for example, a LED connected to the pins 13, to the pin 13, to constant blink. Now my camera won't focus, which is understandable considering the mess it is here, but I think you may get the point. Let me just explain a little bit how an Arduino is. Here I have a Arduino Mega, a bit bigger than the original models. If I take the original model here, the Uno version, Genuino, is, well, comparatively smaller, but there is no difference, especially for the code I'm using. I don't need all these extra parts. The Blinky one, which sadly I can't make my camera focus, would run on the 13th pin. Oh, here it goes. On the 13th pin and the G ground. This is the Blinky one. I'm running a more difficult, or more intrigued code, which is, as you can see here, file examples, not basics, but in communication. I'm running the, physical pixel. And now this little bit of code here is exactly that. So now let's break down the code before we see exactly what it does. Well, firstly, I'm defining that this is the pin where my LED is. Actually, it's really helpful. I would recommend, if you want to learn Arduino, just mess around with the examples. Really, they are one of the best teachers, especially if you do a little, Arduino makeup of how they would work. So just see exactly. But Arduino pretty much here explains itself. Here I have a pin that the LED is attached to. Again, it's the 13th pin. I could change this, but usually the 13th pin is one of most used. There's a reason specifically. Usually, for example, when you want to see if the machine, if the Arduino itself is working, you can actually run a simple, very simple code, pretty much like the Blinky, but even simpler. You just put the Arduino in the 13 and you do a ground, and you put right outside a ground. I can actually show you this. So again, taking the camera. If you have a LED between the 13 pin, move the cable here. You have a LED on the 13 pin and a ground, and you just turn on the, just reset here, for example, you will get a positive. The LED will blink. It's a very useful thing because the 13 port, every time it blows up, gives energy, pretty much, for what my understanding is. Again, let's go back. Now I define that a variable will read a well, pretty much a byte. Here I define that the incoming byte, it works actually different. Usually in Python you would write first the variable name, then define its properties. Here's the contrary. I define the the incoming byte is an int. Then I do a little bit of void. Void is pretty much the loop. It's not a loop here. The void setup is what happens when you start the Arduino. Now the void loop is what happens after the start. So void setup here, I'm beginning the serial communication. Here serial, which is because I'm using to communicate with the Arduino, we just usually put on the SP cable. You can see here the USB. Sorry, that's the USB cable I'm using. Usually Arduinos are much shorter with cable, but no problem here. Now I define the serial begin. Pretty much I think this is a delay. Then I initialize that I want to communicate as an output. Pretty much that's the beginning, just these two lines of code. Pretty much a lot of this code is actually commentaries. Now I close this up, and now I begin a loop. So this thing will happen constantly. Now I will see first if serial not available, that means if it's not being communicated with, equals 0. I'll read the oldest byte in the serial buffer, and the incoming byte is H. Now it's not exactly H you receive, but you receive a number of bytes that correspond to 8. Then it will say the incoming byte is equals to 8, and you do a digital write, which pretty much means I'm gonna send my LED pretty much as high. It was high is an energy, which means turn on. Pretty much here, all this code says is that this code here says is that if the incoming byte equals H, then it's a high, meaning it will turn on. Now this is pretty much the contrary. Not contrary, you know, it's the same code, but now we're using as low. If it receives a L, then it will make the LED pin, which is again the 13, which here the 13 pin as low or low energy or no energy at all. And to better represent this, I have actually an input monitor, which you need to activate to run this code, which is I think tools serial monitor, and I'm going to show this exactly right now to run the code. And you just type out H or L. Now, whoops, I forgot to. You need to be in caps. Since I wrote my code with caps, it needs to be in caps. So H L. Now I need to show you this in here. Now I sorry if my skills here are not the best. Now we're gonna set up is real quick here. You can see, sorry for the mess of cables I was testing out. For example, I'm using the Arduino Mega because I think the Arduino Genuine is not working, which is common really. Do not have fear of burning your Arduinos because you're probably going to do it anyway. Good thing they're cheap. So I'm trying to focus here, but there's not much need of focus. I just here typing H for high or high energy, and this yellow cable is the communicating cable. Sorry, it's not the communicating cable, it's the cable that will send energy, which pretty much is the communicating cable here. In this case, not taking information, sending, and the information sent its energy, as always. I have a capacitor since I'm taking ground here, and why the resistor here is so the light won't burn. I could leave this turned on for a very long time. Now that's the code here, and it's very interesting indeed. After all, it's a simpler code. It's just the simple side, but it just shows what you can do with Arduino pretty much. I'm setting up this since it's everything here. Home channel is pretty much no edit, but well, pretty much here I'm just showing them what you can do with Arduino. Here I'm using again the Arduino own language, so I'm not using Python. And now next day I will try to run this specifically code on Python, and maybe even compare a little bit. Now I will show. I'm gonna be sure exactly how I'm going to show, but I'm pretty much going to do the same code you saw here in Python, and then we're going to do something specific in Python using luminosity pretty much, which here are luminosity sensors, which you can see right here. I may not be able to focus again, but oh, there you go. That, well, capture luminosity, and I'm going to use them to control my LED, my LED. So, well, that's going to be a very great third video issue, but well, that's for another time. But while we are at it, well, you can make sure to like this video if you like it, of course. Put a comment down below if you have any ideas of how could this be worked, how you work with it, or well, pretty much ideas, or maybe ideas for another videos. And subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And of course, hit the bell so you don't need to check out every now and then. YouTube just tell you, well, it's supposed to tell you exactly when my video comes out. And though I'm doing daily videos. So, well, I think that's pretty much it for today. I hope you like it, and if you did, again, leave a like this video, subscribe, and I see you tomorrow. Bye!